The Morris worm incident of 1988 is widely regarded as the first major cyber attack on the internet, marking a turning point in the history of cybersecurity. This event not only exposed critical vulnerabilities in the early internet infrastructure, but also demonstrated the potential scale and impact of malicious software, setting the stage for the modern cybersecurity landscape. The incident, named after its creator, Robert Tappan Morris, had far reaching implications, both technically and legally, and it remains a significant case study in the evolution of digital security. Origin and background. The Morris worm was released on November 2nd, 1988, by Robert Tappan Morris, a graduate student at Cornell University. Morris, who was only 23 years old at the time, came from a family deeply embedded in the field of computer science. His father, Robert Morris Sr., was a well-known cryptographer and a chief scientist at the National Security Agency, NSA. Given this background, Robert Tappan Morris was no stranger to the complexities of computing and the burgeoning field of network security. The worm was created as an experimental program intended to measure the size of the internet, which was still in its infancy at the time. The internet, then known as ARPANET, Advanced Research Projects Agency Network, connected a relatively small number of institutions, including universities, research centers, and military installations. Morris's goal was to gauge the extent of this network by exploiting vulnerabilities in Unix-based systems, which were widely used across these institutions. Technical details and attack vectors. The Morris worm was designed to propagate itself across multiple computers by exploiting known security flaws in Unix operating systems. The worm primarily targeted three vulnerabilities. 1. SendMail exploit. SendMail was a popular program used for routing email. The worm exploited a bug in SendMail that allowed it to execute commands sent to it. By sending a specially crafted email, the worm could gain control of the targeted system and replicate itself. 2. Finger daemon exploit. The finger protocol was used to query information about users on a network. The worm exploited a buffer overflow vulnerability in the finger daemon, allowing it to execute arbitrary code on the affected system. 3. RH remote shell vulnerability. The worm also took advantage of weak password security by attempting to log into remote systems using common passwords and password guessing techniques. Once it gained access, it would replicate itself onto the new machine. The worm was programmed to be self-replicating, meaning it would copy itself onto other machines and continue the process, spreading rapidly across the network. However, a critical flaw in its design caused it to replicate far more aggressively than intended. To prevent easy detection and removal, Morris included a feature in the worm that allowed it to reinfect machines multiple times, even if they were already infected. This led to systems being overwhelmed by multiple instances of the worm, drastically slowing down or even halting operations. The spread and impact. The worm spread rapidly across the internet, infecting an estimated 6,000 computers within the first 24 hours. This represented approximately 10% of all internet-connected machines at the time. The impact was immediate and severe. Systems at major universities, research institutions, and military sites were paralyzed. Administrators were forced to disconnect from the network to stop the spread of the worm, causing widespread disruption. One of the most significant aspects of the Morris worm was its unintended impact. While Morris did not intend to cause widespread damage, the worm's aggressive self-replication led to a situation that spiraled out of control. Many systems were rendered nearly unusable as the worm consumed system resources, slowing down operations to a crawl. The incident highlighted the dangers of even seemingly benign experiments in the digital realm, where the consequences can quickly become unmanageable. The financial implications of the Morris worm were substantial. Estimates of the damage caused by the worm range from $10 million to $100 million. These costs included not only the direct expenses associated with removing the worm and restoring systems, but also the lost productivity resulting from system downtime. For many organizations, the incident was a wake-up call, underscoring the need for robust cybersecurity measures and disaster recovery plans. The aftermath and legal consequences. In the aftermath of the Morris worm incident, Robert Tappan Morris became the first person to be prosecuted under the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. CFAA of 1986. The CFAA was enacted to address the growing threat of computer-related crimes, and Morris's case was a landmark in its application. In 1990, Morris was found guilty of violating the CFAA. He was sentenced to 3 years of probation, 400 hours of community service, and a fine of $10,150. While the sentence was relatively lenient, it sent a clear message about the seriousness of cybercrimes and the legal consequences that could follow. The Morris worm incident also had significant implications for the cybersecurity community. One of the most immediate outcomes was the creation of the Computer Emergency Response Team, CERT, at Carnegie Mellon University. CERT was established to provide a coordinated response to network security incidents and to develop preventive measures to protect against future attacks. Today, CERTs are a critical component of global cybersecurity infrastructure, helping organizations respond to and recover from cyber threats. The incident also spurred increased awareness of the importance of security in software development. The vulnerabilities exploited by the Morris worm were well known, but they had not been adequately addressed by system administrators or software developers. In the years following the incident, there was a greater emphasis on security practices, regular system updates, and the development of intrusion detection systems. Legacy and lessons learned. The Morris worm is often cited as one of the first major wake-up calls in the realm of cybersecurity. It demonstrated the potential for even small, seemingly harmless programs to cause significant disruption when deployed on a global scale. The incident highlighted the interconnected nature of the internet and the cascading effects that a single vulnerability can have across multiple systems. The worm also underscored the importance of ethical considerations in the development and deployment of software. While Morris did not intend to cause harm, his experiment raised important questions about the responsibilities of programmers and the potential consequences of their actions. The case has been studied extensively in the fields of computer science and ethics, serving as a cautionary tale for future generations of developers and security professionals. In the decades since the Morris worm incident, the landscape of cybersecurity has evolved dramatically. The internet has grown exponentially, and with it, the sophistication and frequency of cyberattacks. However, the core lessons from the Morris worm remain relevant. The importance of vigilance, the need for robust security measures, and the understanding that even well-intentioned actions can have unintended and far-reaching consequences. The Morris worm incident is not just a story of a pioneering cyberattack. It is a foundational event that shaped the trajectory of cybersecurity as a discipline. It serves as a reminder of the vulnerabilities inherent in digital systems and the ongoing need for innovation, collaboration, and ethical responsibility in the protection of our increasingly interconnected world.